right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Selfless Little Gaming. We're going to be giving you your breakdown into the week matchups of what is it, the 25th through the 1st of November. So we're about halfway through the NFL season almost. Definitely coming up on it. I am Selfless_Gaming. And this is my co-host with me, little Jacob. What the hell just happened to my screen there? So you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Little Jacob, go ahead.
Yeah, guys, little Jacob here. That's little with the 3 instead of an E. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. I have a Facebook page as well, on the YouTube, TikTok. You can feel free to reach out to me on those socials. I will be available there.
All right. So currently, how is your fantasy football team doing?
So we're doing all right. Right now we're in 4-3, but thankfully, we're still in the middle of the pack. All the other teams are tied for second and first. There's only 2 other teams, so we're still looking pretty good. Unfortunately, we barely lost our last game by 3 points. And here's the thing, I really don't have any other good options at quarterback as a free agent. I really don't at all. I mean, the only person I can think of that's on that list is maybe Jacoby Brissett. Matt Ryan's not even starting anymore. They're starting Sam Ellinger, and they're probably going to be starting him for the rest of the year if they can. So that's out the window. I'm really going to have to ride or die with Tom Brady. And I mean, honestly, I don't know. I feel like the last few weeks with Tom Brady, I don't really think it's him that's falling short for me. More so, it's the rest of his team, and his teammates, and just bad and guys dropping passes. Because I've seen at least already 3 games where Tom Brady has got over 250 passing yards, 300 passing yards, but no touchdowns. Not in the first quarter, not even in the first half. I mean, hell, he didn't throw a touchdown. I think the whole game, last game.
It's kind of rare to see Tom Brady not performing like he is right now. It's just weird to see that because he's still performing well, but it's their team is just not really clicking, not on the same page whatsoever. The offensive line looks terrible right now.
Yeah,
I'm very surprised with that. But yeah, man, I don't know, he didn't look very good right now. So yeah, I was very surprised to see that they benched Matt Ryan. Very surprised to see that, but I'm not surprised because his performance has been very poor. But then again, it's I am surprised because he's a veteran quarterback. He's been in the league for a long time, and they went out and acquired him, and he just is not doing it. So it's pretty obvious right now why the Falcons were so willingly ready to let him go. Since he's been a part of that franchise for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm currently 5-2. My last game I won by I think 0.8 points. It was a very close matchup. So I'm currently 5-2. I'm sitting 4th or 5th in the league right now. So there's a lot of other guys that are 5-2. I don't think. Let me see. I'm 5-2. We got another 5-2. 6-1, 5-2, 6-1. So I'm pretty much tied for second right now.
Tied for second, okay.
Yeah. But it's got me ranked 5th because we do points for, points against. So currently right now I'm 5th for points for and then points against. So I have the least amount of points scored on me, or second least amount of points scored on me. But then I have points for 80 points behind first place. So I'm right there with everybody. But
yeah, that's still pretty good.
So we still have one undefeated team in the NFL. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are the only remaining undefeated team left. They were on a bye this past week. Looking forward to week number 8. It looks like they have a matchup against.
It's a pretty easy matchup, most honestly for them. It's going to be the Steelers, and mean, that's about as easy as you can get from coming off of a bye weekend. With the weapons they have, it's just that's I don't see unless it's just like an utter disaster or they just have major injuries that there's no way that they're going to lose that game. You know.
Honestly, man, they may. Gosh, let's see. They got the rest of their schedule looks very appealing. They got the Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers, which Packers are just they're falling apart.
Yeah,
Um,
they're god awful.
Titans could be a toss up of a game. Giants could get
Yeah,
them. Giants played them pretty well than
yeah,
you all.
yeah.
So there's potentially three teams that could get them. But with the Bears, Saints, and the rest of those teams, I actually don't see them losing those games with how they've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's if they stay healthy. You know, like season can change with any of these guys going out and stuff. But they could very
Absolutely.
well finish the season 14-3 at the worst.
Yeah.
I could actually see that. I think that's doable for the Eagles. They're playing very well right now. They're definitely a tough team. Um, but yeah, they're coming off a bye, so that's still the only undefeated team left in the season or in the league. What do you think about the 49ers acquiring Christian McCaffrey?
I think that was a really it's definitely a really desperate move for Carolina as they got a bunch of draft picks for him. I mean, I know that they probably didn't expect coming into the season, especially with a guy like DJ Moore, getting Baker Mayfield and having Christian McCaffrey back healthy. They weren't expecting to. Essentially, in my opinion, looks like they're going into a full panic. I got to rebuild mode. You know,
Yeah,
trading McCaffrey for all those draft picks. There were trade talks with one of their star linebackers. Um, there was potential trade picks for DJ Moore, but like no, they're not going to DJ Moore. I mean, it's pretty much literally the best player they have on that offense. Um, yeah, I feel like they're going into full rebuild mode like early in the season, so they're acquiring draft picks. And I mean, at this rate, with the record that they have, which is what is it? Let's see here, 2-5. I mean, most likely they're going to be ending up being at a top pick in the draft because they don't really show that they're going to be getting anywhere. I mean, even and they're starting. I think it's PJ Walker he played in the XFL formerly.
yeah.
He did pretty good. He did pretty good for them. I mean, they stunned everyone when they kicked the Buccaneers butts. I don't know how many more times they'll win some games, but we'll have to see. Yeah, but they're definitely in a panicking rebuilding mode as of right now, man. I mean, just based on the transactions that have taken place, and I don't think anyone expected them to be great, but no one expected them to be this bad. I didn't think they would be this bad.
Well, see, and like what's crazy to me is that they fire their head coach, they trade Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey, they start making all these moves to get draft picks. So clearly, it's just like we're going to acquire draft picks, we're going to try to work towards the future, get a new coach, and you're
Mm-hmm.
just thinking like from a standpoint of fantasy football and everything else. Like I'm thinking like, dude, there is really no reason to have a Carolina Panther right now. And then they come out this
Yeah.
week and they absolutely smack Tampa Bay in the face and beat them 21-3.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the hell's going on? like,
Yeah. For
like
sure.
I can't imagine the amount of money that Vegas won this weekend just off that bet alone. Because majority of the people were going with Tampa Bay after
Oh
all
yeah.
those
Oh yeah.
moves and stuff. So I don't know, man. Sometimes, and we've talked about in the past. Sometimes those like moves and those change in personnel and like coaching staff and stuff. Sometimes that can like light a fire under this team, and it can kind of like give guys new hope of, hey, there's a new guy here that I need to
Yeah.
try to impress and win over as a coach to keep my
Yeah.
job type deal. So I mean, we saw with the Raiders last year when Gruden got let go, like they went on a little bit of a run and started beating people and everything. And we're sitting here talking like, man, the Raiders are actually pretty good for, having guys suspended and losing their coach and just all that stuff. So, but yeah, I would not have seen Carolina coming out and doing what they did to the Bucks after they let their coach and stuff go. That's pretty wild. The only thing I will say was San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
acquiring Christian McCaffrey, when he gets like acclimated into the offense,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to help them a lot with their passing game more than their running
Oh yeah,
game. Because to me, like Kansas City's defense has gotten better this year. It's definitely improved from last year. But it just seems like to me, like Jimmy G just really doesn't have the arm strength, or
yeah,
he's not reading defenses fast enough, because a lot of his passes seemed like short or behind guys when he was throwing the ball in that game. And I think with what you can do with Christian McCaffrey in the passing game, that'll help
yeah,
him out more, because instead of trying to push the ball downfield, they can actually shorten the game a little bit and get the
yeah,
ball out quicker, get it into these guys' hands, because they got athletes. Like San Francisco has a very talented roster now, with a lot of the wide receivers they got and adding McCaffrey. But I feel like that's really going to help Jimmy G more in his passing game than it's actually going to improve San Francisco's run game, personally.
yeah. And I mean, because they're gonna have to account for the fact that McCaffrey's out there in the flat. I mean, now before it was just Debo Samuel, right? You had to worry about him catching a screen pass or getting a pitch play or a reverse or something in the backfield that involves him getting in an open space and creating plays. And now you have to worry about McCaffrey being out there too. And so they're going to have a lot more options in the passing game, especially in the short passing game, because now they got two guys who can really go out there, catch the ball, and make something happen inside the numbers, and make big plays. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this was like a short term that McCaffrey had from being on the Panthers. They're saying, "Hey, you're going to San Francisco." He gets sent to San Francisco, has a couple of days to practice with them, and only really gets to be part of so much of the playbook. Once he gets fully immersed into the playbook, and they create more game plans that involve him, I think you'll see a lot more offensive production from San Francisco.
Yeah. Um, what's going on with the Patriots right now? Like,
Man,
they got Bailey Zappi. Is that how
yeah,
you say Bailey Zappi? Was
I
their
think it's
starting
Zappy.
quarterback?
Yeah,
And like, I mean, I've never heard of this guy. He's a fourth round draft pick from Western Kentucky. I mean, I'm right here in Kentucky. I didn't even know he played for Western Kentucky. But
yeah,
I mean, right now he's got 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 781 yards. So, like, I don't know. He went 14 to 22 for 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Like, but I just, like, what is going on with them right now? Like, where's Mac Jones been? Is he hurt or what's going on?
he was injured. He was injured. I think he had a really bad ankle injury. I'd sidelined him for a couple weeks, like it was a pretty bad one. He came back and he just, I mean, I didn't really watch the game, but I did see the highlights and he just stunk it up.
Yeah.
Is what happened. He just stunk up that game. They threw Zappy in there because they said, well, Zappy had played. I think it was the game before. He had a pretty good day. He was looking good. And he came back in there against the against the Bears in the second half, and he stunk it up too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean they have a quarterback controversy brewing over there, and not a good one, not the one that like they would want. Um, I think some people were having some reminiscence of Bledsoe getting benched for Brady and hoping, oh well, maybe Zappy's like gonna be our guy now,
He's the
coming in
new
for Bench Mac
Brady.
Jones, and
We
then
got
no,
Zappy.
yeah, and dude, so Mac Jones, this is Mac Jones' numbers from that game, and they decided to pull him for good reason. Mac Jones he had 3 of 6 completions for 13 yards and an interception, and they said, you know what, we're getting you out of here, pal.
I didn't realize it was
We're
that
getting you
bad.
out of here.
So,
And Zappy didn't finish off too well either.
so the Cleveland game, because I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at
Uh,
the Cleveland game, and
that was much closer than it should have been for the Ravens.
no, I'm talking about the Patriots. Like last game against
Oh,
Cleveland.
okay, yeah.
But I don't know if this is Zappy or what. It might be Zappy, I guess. I don't know. But
Yeah, I think he did play that against them
he
the
went
previous week.
24 or 34 for 309 with 2 touchdowns. That's pretty freaking good, bro.
Yeah,
If that
yeah,
was him, like it doesn't say who it was.
yeah. It was Zappy.
Was it really? Dang, bro. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he had a good game. He had a really good game that game, but then for some reason turned around here and against the Bears when he got subbed in, it just nope. He was just a dud.
See, like, I don't know. Sometimes with that stuff,
Hmm.
being a quarterback, like I've never played quarterback, worked with them though and stuff.
Yeah,
Being a quarterback, you got to like when you start the game, you get in the flow of the game. So when you're
yeah,
sitting out, and it's honestly with any athlete, like when you're sitting out, and then all of a sudden it's just like, hey, go in there and win this the game. Like you're already thrown into chaos, and you're not prepared necessarily for it because you haven't been ready for the game. You haven't been playing.
yeah.
So you're going in when everybody's nice and warmed up, tempo's fast, and I don't know. I never liked that. In my opinion, it's more like, all right, we got to ride this game out, type deal. Because they're 3-4. It's not like their season's over,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just kind of like, to me, it's like, all right, we got to ride this game out. Then we're making changes after the game. I've never liked when people just throw somebody in there just to throw them in there, but
Yeah, and you want to slow. I mean, in my opinion, you want to slow the game down as much as possible for them too.
yeah,
Um, until they're to the point where they really are up to speed or performing at that level where it's like, okay, well, you're ready to fire on all cylinders. Let's throw everything we got at them, all that kind of stuff.
yeah. Um, Man, one of the teams I'm actually very impressed with,
Mm-hmm.
and with what they've been doing this year, is the New York Jets. Man, they've
Yeah.
actually been pretty impressive to watch. But dude, that team, I feel like just lost the heart of their team, and that's that Bryce Hall
Oh
kid.
yeah,
Like him, I think they officially announced that he's done for the year. I
yeah,
think
he
was he
is.
tore his
Unfortunately,
Achilles or knee? No, his knee, his ACL.
I
Yeah,
think it's a knee injury. Yeah, I think it was a knee injury.
yeah. That kid has been a freaking stud this year.
He's, and he's fast, dude.
Yeah,
That kid fast. Like he puts on the Jets and he really gets out of there. Um, hopefully he has a speed recovery. Hopefully that this doesn't set him back too far. And he's still to come back and play at the same level and same speed. But yeah, man, you're right. I mean, he was really playing great for them, and had a really good stretch of games for him.
yeah. He's been averaging like usually around 18 yards, like receiving average, I think. Um, but he had four attempts for 72 yards, which was an
Yeah,
18-yard average, one touchdown. But I mean, heck, dude, he's got 7, 10. He's got 11 touchdowns on the year and stuff, and they lost that. So that's it's definitely a tough one. They do have James Robinson on the roster.
yeah, they just
They got
got him.
Ty Johnson and stuff, so they may be able to still like work in a balance of an offense there. But yeah, he's 10th in the league for rushing, and he's tied 7th for touchdowns. So it's just kind of, well, actually, it says here he's got 4 touchdowns. So what is this? Oh, he's got 3 touchdowns versus AFC, and then he's got 1 versus the NFC. That's kind of a cool breakdown that they do that now and stuff. So, but yeah, dude, he's good. He's definitely good. I hope he recovers quick.
Yeah, and I mean the Jets are sitting pretty good, man. I mean they're 5-2. They're only a game behind the Bills. I mean, now obviously the Bills are just in general are the better team, of course, but it's still really impressive what they're able to do. I think at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to them and the Dolphins and who gets that number 2 spot because I mean, of course, the Bills are going to win the AFC East. No doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's really impressive. I would personally like to see the Dolphins get up there and get that number 2 spot and at least give the Bills a run for their money to the playoffs because it'd be nice to see them make the playoffs again. I think Tua is going to be all right. Hopefully, they can do a better job of protecting him and to prevent certain, sometimes plays just happen the way they do. And unfortunately, head injuries happen sometimes. But I think he's all right. I think he can continue to play at a high level. He looked pretty good in that Thursday night football game.
yeah, he did look
It felt
good.
like it felt like it was it was normal him back again.
Yeah, they looked good as a whole. like offensively and defensively, they looked really good. So, and I think from what the sports anchors and him himself, like what he said is after having an injury like that, like he has now learned like he doesn't have to make every play. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay to throw the ball away. It's okay to get the
yeah,
ball out quicker and stuff.
absolutely.
Because you got to protect yourself at the end of the day. And at that, like you can make plays and stuff all day long, but the more attempts you take and making plays, the more shots essentially you're going to
Oh
take
yeah.
from other
Hmm.
teams. So, you know, it's one thing to be a playmaker and do what you need to do for your team, but it's also timing. It's one thing. It makes me think
Hmm.
back to when I say timing, like John Elway. I don't even know if you remember those Super Bowls when John Elway was in them, but it's like John Elway would never run like during those years. He would throw or get the ball out real quick. And then it's like in the Super Bowl, the dude's sprinting downfield doing a straight like overhead dive, getting flipped and spun and everything. And it's like, what the hell's he doing? And it's like, it's a Super Bowl. Like it's last game of the year. This is
Yeah,
like where you try to make those plays and go the little extra mile
yeah,
and
and you make
stuff.
it count. Yeah,
Yeah, but like you'd never see him do that during the regular season, and then he's out there like diving over piles and stuff in the Super Bowl.
yeah, and that's
So
probably why he had such a longevity of his career and wasn't like one of those guys that was always out, or if he did have an injury, it'd be something minor that he could play through.
yeah, I mean, hell, look at Tom Brady. Dude's 40
Yeah,
something, and he's out there still slinging it and stuff, healthy, can still play, and he's not a guy that's running up and down the field and trying to make people miss all the time and stuff. He just like
yeah,
if he knows he's getting sacked, there's literally clips of him just like falling and laying on the ground because he knows he's
yeah.
going down and he can't get away. So he just tucks the ball and just lays down. Like that's just being smart. Um,
Absolutely.
Man, I'll tell you what. Like I'm actually very surprised
Hmm.
with looking at some of the divisions. There has been like some divisions who have completely like made a freaking 180 with their records and their performance overall. Because like literally, what was it, 2-3 years ago, the NFC East, like I think the Commanders got in with like a 7-9 record or something to the
Yeah,
playoffs.
I remember. Yeah, I think that was the season. I'm not. I might be correct, but I think that's the season we did lose Dak, and we
Yeah.
had like three different
Yes.
starting quarterbacks, including Andy Dalton, and the whole NFC East was just
It was
bad. The whole
terrible. I think like it
Yeah,
was like them at 7-9. They got into the playoffs and they almost beat the Bucks. And then it's like the rest of that whole like division had like 4 wins at most. And it was just
yeah,
so bad to watch. And everybody was like talking about it. And then now it's like here it is like 2 years later. You got a 6-0 team, 6-1, 5-2, 3-4. And now you're looking at like the NFC South, which used to be really strong. Dude, they're 3-4, 3-4, 2-5, 2-5. They look terrible. Every one of those teams look terrible.
yeah,
And then like you look at the NFC West where you got the Rams who literally just won the Super Bowl. The 49ers went on a run last year and had to face the Rams again in the playoffs. We thought and we made fun of. I do remember a certain co-host of mine putting out a tweet saying, "Imagine starting the season with your
yeah,
quarterback as Geno Smith, and they're sitting
yeah.
on
I
top
did.
of the damn division. They're four
Yeah,
and three."
I think Geno Smith might have seen that tweet,
I
and he
bet.
made it
Oh
a
yeah,
mission to make
he
me eat my words, and he has. So
he he literally printed your tweet off and posted it in the locker rooms and said,
yeah.
"Boys, this ain't happening." That's what he did. But
Absolutely. I
seriously,
mean, hey, hats off to him. Yeah, no, it's crazy that out of all the teams in NFC West that are sitting up there, when you like you said it, the Cardinals went on that undefeated streak last year. Rams won the Super Bowl. San Francisco was up there knocking heads and getting into the playoffs. They beat Dallas. They beat the Packers, and now they're at the bottom, and Seattle's at the top.
yeah, it literally like this season honestly just makes no sense in a lot of different aspects. Like the Jets have been terrible for so long. They're literally second in their division. I think like they're probably overall like fifth or sixth in the league with their record. the Green Bay Packers are always dominating teams. Shit, they barely can find a way to win. Like, it's kind of like embarrassing, honestly, when the announcers of their games are sitting there and they're like, I don't know what's going on with this Packers offense and this Packers team, but it can't
Yeah.
all be Devontae Adams. Like, there's got to be something going on. There's no way that they're this bad without Devontae Adams. Because it's just like you try to find an answer and you can't. Like, they're just not performing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, like, the league is very very weird this year. We thought the AFC West would be really tough. It's pretty much Chargers and Kansas City. Like, nothing's really changed there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a team that's really started to turn it on and like kind of get stuff like put together. The Bengals,
Mhm.
man,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
figuring it out, dude.
From
Like,
how they started to how they've been playing the last few weeks, yeah. And I mean, I think Joe. Let's go back to that game with Joe Burrow.
he
I
threw
think
for
he
like over
freaking aired
400.
down.
So he set a record. I want to say it was like most 400-yard games in like so many games or something like that. Like, he set a record this
Yeah,
past week.
geez. He almost threw for 500 Sunday.
Yeah, like they were slinging it all over the place. Tyler Boyd had a freaking monstrous game, and their defense has been playing well all year, but their offensive line is starting to figure it out. Honestly, they're starting to figure it out. They're starting to actually come together and protect him a little bit more. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year. Is like, you offer up a little bit more protection for this guy, like, they could be a pretty dangerous team, and they've definitely shown it.
Yeah. I will.
So,
I did notice that. Going back to the Packers team, how bad they play. That Rodgers had a pretty hot take, and I don't have any problem with what he said because it's 100% fact from the way the games have been playing out. It's true. He said guys making too many mistakes should not be playing. Like, they should sit. They need to get taken out, and he's not saying any specific names, but I'm sure he has people in mind. And he's right, because there's errors, there's drop passes, there's things that are going on with that offense that have never been an issue before. And I get it, they don't have Devontae Adams anymore, but that's that's not an excuse for the shortcomings and how inconsistent the offense has been. You know,
yeah.
from the receivers to the mistiming on routes to just kind of like not being on the same page with Aaron Rodgers. At the end of the day, they all go to training camp. They all practice together. You have the whole week to get prepared for a game, and then to go out there on Sunday and then just look so disorganized, or like if they've literally playing together for the first time when we're already going into what, week 7, week 8. It's unacceptable for them at this point. And it is a shame for the organization. I mean, the people who are probably sitting back and loving it the most are the Vikings at 5-1, because they've always had really good seasons. The Vikings have had really good seasons, but they could never actually win the division because, like you said, the Packers are just dominating in general, and they're dominating that division. They could never pass up, but now it's like the Vikings are just sitting up there real nice and pretty at 5-1, and the Packers look like a team that no one has seen or recognized for like a long time now.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, there's definitely a discord within that locker room, coaching staff. There's just something going on with that group because they are not. I mean, like, Aaron Rodgers has had times where he's not had Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones, and he's had to work with, like, wide receivers coming off
Yeah,
the bench or whatever, and he's made it work. And it's just not the
yeah.
same right now. It's just not the same at all. So, hold on.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder how much of it is Aaron too. Because at the end of the day, you're a quarterback. It's still your job, like you said, to make it work. It's
Your job to, like, when Tom Brady won the Super Bowls, he was winning with the receivers that, hell, I never even heard of. Just some random guys that the Patriots acquired from free agency or from a trade, and like unsung heroes. Like, you have to be a true Patriots fan or just remember those games in general to name some of the guys who caught some of the biggest the passes for him. And
Yeah.
these weren't good at college. These weren't Devontae Adams out there or some of these other big receivers. Um, he made it work with the guys that he had, and it's not happening for them in Green Bay, which is pretty crazy when you have what everybody was, the back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers, and yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling how bad it's gone for them.
Um, to be honest, I heard like a really good take. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it made a lot of sense when I, like, it's one of those things like when you start to listen to it, you're kind of like, dude, what are they talking about? But it kind of makes a lot of sense. Um, what do you think about this statement with the Denver Broncos
Mm-hmm.
should make a trade with Russell Wilson for Kyler Murray and switch player for player? Because I was just like, dude, what? But when they broke it down, they said, think about it. Both teams have these players in virtually the same contracts that they can't get out of. Now you have these players where one doesn't want to be in Arizona. Okay, they don't want to be there. They are not willing to be coachable. They obviously have disciplinary issues with this individual. Russell Wilson is a basically older version of Kyler Murray who could go there with a more veteran team and weapons. And then you give Kyler Murray his fresh start and you can bring in guys around him through the draft. And once I started hearing this breakdown, I was like, yo, this actually makes sense. Like, that could actually like work out for these teams. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you put it that way, I mean, I'll be honest. When you first said it, I was kind of like, I don't know if that's going to solve the problem, but that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think with the position that the Cardinals are in, especially, and what they should be able to accomplish with the weapons they do have, I would say it's worth the shot.
Yeah.
They need to do something to turn around their football team. They need to do something to turn the season around, especially with some of the. It just sucks, It just sucks to be in this position for them because we kind of talked about it earlier in the offseason about Kyler Murray's big contract, the reports about him not studying film, so he wasn't. So basically, Kyler Murray's putting himself in a position where he has a ceiling, and it feels like he's reached and hit that ceiling hard, and has not been able to get past that or get better from where he's at. And it's like you said, it's because he doesn't want to be there. He probably does not feel in the coaching staff. It's not a suitable place for him. He's not willing to be coached. Versus if he goes to somewhere like Denver, that might be something that changes for him. Different perspective, different plays. Maybe it's a different Kyler Murray. He actually studies film. He actually willing to be coached. He can break through that ceiling and get better because we see him do it in a short span of time, especially last season, up until a certain point. And then with Russell Wilson, I mean, Russell Wilson is Russell Wilson at this point. I mean, he was great. He's won a Super Bowl. I kind of feel like he's already reached his ceiling. I really don't think he'd get any higher than where he's at now. But he is more of a veteran. He probably would fit that system in Arizona more, be more coachable and more willing to do whatever it is that the Cardinals want to do versus like the situation with Kyler Murray, Because Kyler Murray is kind of in a position where it's like, bro, you could be better. You could be a lot better, but you're just not. And that's for one reason or another. Like you said, coaching disagreements, not wanting to be there. Maybe he isn't studying film after all. I don't know, but it might be worth a shot for them because they need to turn around. As good as they were doing last year, what did they win? Like 9 or 10 games in a row,
I think so.
without a loss.
Yeah, they
And,
went
and
like on a
now
crazy run last year.
Yeah, and now it's just like, who are you? It's funny because it's like some teams are getting space jammed, and what I mean by space jammed, like some aliens are coming out of outer space and just like sucking away players' talent and taking off with it, and everyone's like, "What the hell is going on with this guy? Or what's going on with this team?"
Yeah.
And the Cardinals are one of those teams that nobody recognizes right now, not from last year.
Yeah, they and the thing is too is like and they could turn it around, like because they
Yeah.
got DeAndre Hopkins back now, like so
Yeah.
they could turn around. But my thing is like his attitude and demeanor, and I'm talking about Kyler Murray here.
Uh-huh.
He I'm like it's one thing for a guy to be like, calm down, I got this, okay. But the fact that
Yeah.
he like ripped his helmet off and he's walking over and he's screaming at his coach, "You need to calm the F down. Calm the F down. Shut the
Yeah.
F up." Like, dude, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like a game time, game pivotal moment where we need to get this going, and everybody's jacked up, and he's just screaming and cussing at people, and it's just like,
in a negative way, yeah.
in a negative way, man. Like, it'd be one thing if he was like, "I effing got this, man. I effing," like, okay,
Let's go.
like, put the team on your back. But like when you're screaming at people and everything, like, I don't know. Like, it kind of goes back to that thing with one of my college coaches. It's like, okay, just because like I'm screwing up and you're like, yeah, screaming at me, it's not fixing anything. Like, I already know I screwed up. You don't have to scream at me that I just screwed up, you know?
Yeah.
And it just makes me laugh when people are like, "Everybody's not freaking out," and they like are screaming themselves, making the situation worse. But it's just kind of like what I feel like with them. But that, yeah, when I heard that take, I was like, that's actually an interesting point, because I feel like Russell Wilson really doesn't want to be in Denver, to be honest. I think that offense suits him, to be honest.
It's not. I think it's just one of those things where he thought that it'd be a good fit for him. It was something that's going to work for him, and then it just wasn't what he thought it was going to be at all.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, when they were talking about it, I was like, this actually would be a pretty good take, because Kyler's young. They could definitely build the Broncos around him and get him weapons in, because they got Sutton there and stuff, so they got like some weapons there, but it's just like they can actually like design the offense around him. Whereas right now, in my opinion, the Cardinals are set up this year to win now. So they really need a quarterback who can lock it in every game, win now.
Yeah.
But that's hard too, because, dude, Russell Wilson's just been struggling. Like, he's not the Russell Wilson we've seen.
Yeah. And maybe, and you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this, because I didn't think this was the case. Maybe that was one of the problems with the Seahawks and why they didn't have as much fight as they did, like they do now. Yep. It might have been Russell too, and no one would have thought, right, that statement would be something. Anybody would have called me crazy. Seahawks fan would call me crazy. I would have called myself crazy, but that's kind of how it's feeling, because if Geno Smith can go in there, and this is not to take away from anything he's doing, but if Geno Smith can go in there and play as hard as he is, and the Seahawks are sitting on top of that division right now, that just tells me that maybe it was more than just the rest of the Seahawks, and maybe also Russell had something to do with that, because it's kind of showing, it's kind of being exposed with the Broncos right now.
Yeah, well, and like even looking at Wilson's stats right now, he's attempted 198 passes, completed 116 for 58%. He's got 1,400 yards. He's only averaging 7.3 yards per play. He's about 240 yards a game. He's got 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but he's been sacked 20 times. Like, and for 7 games played, their leading rusher is Melvin Gordon with 66 yards. Or he's got 66 attempts for 234 yards out of 7 games. That's not very good. So they can't run the ball. Cortland Sutton has 454 yards on the year. They got Jerry Jeudy at 386 yards. So, I don't know. It's just like their offense really isn't all that explosive, you know?
Yeah, which is very surprising.
But, yeah, he's been sacked 20 times. That's definitely an issue right there.
All right, are there any...
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, are there any teams right now that are doing really good? Like, who do you think are contenders and who do you think are pretenders? Because I know that there's a lot of teams, like, for example, you got teams that are like 5-2, 5-1. The Eagles haven't lost a game. Now, you could argue, one thing I would argue is that they do have a really easy schedule. Even the schedule that you read off, it really doesn't sound like they're going to face a lot of adversity. And I'm curious to see how long they'll get away with running a lot of RPO, because Jalen Hurts has ran a lot more than he's thrown. I'm curious to see how far they'll get doing that way. But do you feel like there's any teams that are doing really good now, but may not be come at the end of the year or maybe in the postseason?
I think, man, it's kind of tough. I think the NFC South you can chalk up.
Yeah.
Unless the Buccaneers like get it together this week and they turn it around and they start doing what they are more than capable of doing, the whole NFC South, you can just throw them out. They're be a bunch of pretenders because that's the only group out of that division that I could see that could be a contender if they turn it around right now. I think the 49ers could be a contender with the offense like that they'll have. Obviously, the prime contenders are the Eagles. They're definitely going to be making the playoffs this year. Actually, dude, it's kind of crazy to say this. It would not surprise me. Let me look at the schedule real quick. The Eagles are going to make the playoffs. How many teams get in the playoffs? Is it 4?
Yeah, I think it's 4.
4? So I'm going to kind of throw something out here. I think, well, no, it's got to be more than that, right? Because you got your divisional winners that make the playoffs. And then you got wild card.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're right.
Okay, so it's kind of bad that we're talking about a sports podcast and we don't know the breakdown of the sports playoffs.
It's talking. It's
So let me pull up these. Let me go back one. Because you're gonna think you're gonna want me drug tested after I say this. After the NFC breakdown, okay.
It's 7-7. 7 playoff berths available for each division.
Okay, so then
or each conference. Each conference.
Each conference. So you got 2 wild cards, right?
Yep.
And then one team gets a bye, and the other 4 teams play. So you got your wild card round, then you have your divisional round. What is it? Like conference finals, then Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
Divisional winners, I'm going with San Francisco. I'm going with Tampa Bay. I'm going with Philly. I think they're going to win that division. I'm going with Vikings. And then I'm going with your Dallas Cowboys. And the New York Giants is who I'm going with. Followed up possibly by the Cardinals if there's 7 teams.
Yeah.
But I could honestly see the NFC East, if they all keep playing the way they're playing, y'all getting 3 teams in the playoffs.
And it's doable. So taking a look at the list here, of if the playoffs started, let's say this weekend, right, or the NFL season ended Monday, whatever.
Yeah.
Right now, the Eagles would be the number 1 seed, Vikings number 2, Seattle number 3, the Bucks would be number 4 as bad as they're playing.
That's
The
your
Giants.
Divisional winners. That's your divisional
Yeah.
winners right there. Okay.
Yeah, and then you have the Giants at 5, Dallas at 6, Rams at 7.
7. Okay. So, I think like by the end of it, I don't think the Rams are going to be there. Honestly,
Yeah.
the way they're playing now. Out of the AFC East, I think this is going to be a lot easier. I'm going the Bills. I'm going the Bengals. I'm going the Titans. I'm going Kansas City. And then after that, I'm going the Miami Dolphins at 5. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens at 6. And I'm going to put the LA Chargers at 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my breakdown of that. Because the Jets, I don't know how their run game is going to be now with Breece Hall out. Because that dude is stupid explosive. Like we talked about earlier, teams can have a lot of rosters of like great athletes and a lot of talent, but sometimes even some of the most talented rosters, they lose a guy, it impacts them tremendously when it comes to injuries. So that's what I'm going with. And then I think like your championship rounds this year, I think you're going to see Bills, Chiefs in the AFC Championship. I think you're going to see that depending on how the rest of the season falls and where they play each other. Bengals could make a run again because they did last year.
Yeah.
In the NFC, I could see. It's so hard with the way this could fall out.
Yeah, because it's early, but yeah.
I could honestly see a NFC East like NFC Championship matchup. I could see two teams from the NFC East actually playing each other for the NFC Championship, which would be crazy because that means y'all would have faced each other 3 times in the year.
Yeah.
Like I could legit see that if the way they get seeded and the way that falls, like I could actually see that.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility for sure.
So
it hasn't happened too often. Something like that hasn't happened too often, but it can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it's just like a weird year of football, man. Like it's just usually you can decide games, like you can look at matchups and stuff and just be like, oh yeah, this is definitely kind of like playing in the favor of this team or that team. And but like last night, like the Patriots and stuff, like with the way they've been playing and how things were going, and then they're facing the Bears. The Bears offense really has trouble scoring. I'm like, oh, this will be a close matchup, you know? And then the Bears come out and they drop 33 points. And I'm like, dude, what? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, and part of that, too, was all the turnovers between Zappy and Mac. And they also did put the Bears in a good field position. The Bears have a pretty solid running game, if anything. I mean, when we're talking about the beginning of the year, they were having such a, like, they had such a horrible stat line for offense at the beginning of the season. Yeah, and they still do.
That Herbert guy, what's his freaking first name? Is it Kenneth Herbert? The running back for the Bears?
Yeah, I think so.
Khalil Herbert? I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm like butchering his name. Dude, he is a solid running back. He is very good. He's averaging 6.2 yards. Like, he is primarily their offense. I hate to say it, but Justin Fields has been sacked 27 times. And I love my Buckeyes. I love you, Justin Fields. Love you, bro. But in my fantasy football league, guys were like, why is that Ohio State has such amazing quarterbacks and stuff in college, but they don't produce anything in the NFL? And all I responded with was, why do you think I don't draft them in our fantasy football leagues when they get into the NFL? Like, and the reason I say this, and I said this about CJ Stroud, okay, because I don't want to get into like college too much, but teams like Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, like these big Power 5 schools that have great classes every year, tons of athletes, talent on the field, they are so much better than majority of the teams that they play. These guys don't really see a ton of pressure. And what I mean by that is I said CJ Stroud has a great arm and he has crazy precision throwing. Okay. He is very precise with the football, but the dude also gets like 5 to 6 seconds to throw the football. Like majority of the time when they drop back to pass, he's got all day to pass because a lot of teams cannot put enough
lots of time
on our offensive line. And I told them, I said, I think he's been given this too much and he's accustomed to this way too much. In the NFL, we all know that's not going to happen. He's not going to have all day to throw the football like that. So I don't think his transition from college to the NFL is going to be very good in the beginning because he's not going to be adjusted to the speed of the game. He's not going to be sped up in his throwing, in his reads, all that stuff. He's not having to do that right now. Okay. So he's not like put in those positions to have to, be under pressure, throw the ball as fast as he can, get it out, get a quick read. You kind of saw the same thing with Tua. Tua came in, did pretty good, but it was like his reads and stuff were a lot slower. He was holding on to the ball longer. Mac Jones, same thing. Heisman Trophy winner. He ended up like struggling his first year a little bit. Joe Burrow, when he came out first year, started playing pretty well and stuff, but then he started holding on to the football too long. And it's just like, you look at what their performance was in college, those guys had all day to throw. They weren't seeing what they were seeing now in the NFL. So that's something that I think is the biggest struggle for a lot of these quarterbacks that go from college, these big time programs and stuff, to an NFL type, play style. It's much faster. Guys can put pressure on the quarterback. Because you got to think, like, when they're at Ohio State, you got the top 1% of college athletes at one school. They're playing other schools who probably have maybe top 20, 30% of college athletes on their roster. There's a big difference in gap there. Whereas when you get to the NFL, everybody's that's in the NFL is top 1%.
Yeah.
They're the elite of the elite. So,
Yeah.
But and with Justin Fields, like, everybody's like, man, he's so athletic and all this stuff. He made his name running the football at Ohio State. He didn't make his name running at Ohio State. He made his name throwing at Ohio State. Like, the dude threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. But he is athletic enough to get out of the pocket and escape. I don't know. Kid's struggling. It's disappointing to me to see how much he's struggling, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah, and I mean, and definitely, he's definitely going to have a tough matchup against his Dallas defense coming up Sunday because it's a short week. It's a very fast and rapid defense. I mean, the only setback we had was we lost Jordan Lewis to a foot injury for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, when he caught an interception. I forgot exactly what happened to his foot.
Is that your corner or your safety?
He plays both actually.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, he'll come and play safety like in nickel packages but primarily I know he plays corner.
And then who did you all just acquire? You guys just acquired a defensive tackle, is that right?
Yeah, from the Raiders. What's his name? Hold on.
Is it Haskins or Hankins or something?
Hankins, I think it is. Hankins.
I saw something on that today too. I didn't get a chance to read
it.
Yeah,
Jonathan Hankins from the Raiders. We got draft pick compensation.
So
he's a good run stopper right there. So that'll definitely help. We're helping us out with stopping the run because we've had some issues with that.
I just feel like I don't know. Yeah, I know him.
But I see a strong defensive game coming. So right now, the Bears have the number one rushing team in the NFL, but they're also like the worst in passing. So I think we can make Justin Fields throw the ball more, which we should be able to, and make those mistakes. We should be okay in that game. Like I said, the Dallas defense pulled out like 5 turnovers this past game against the Lions. And the way that we've seen the Bears play in the past few weeks and just how unproductive they can be on offense, I think we have a really good shot at taking them down, especially with Dak being back. And, he's just kind of getting warmed up and back into his rhythm again. They'll get a full week of practice this week as well. I think we'll be all right Sunday for that game.
So, like, here's the thing that kind of irritates me sometimes when people will talk about defenses and offenses and stuff like that. They're like, oh, Dallas gives up like a lot of rushing yards and stuff for their defense. But your all's defense is designed to put a lot of pressure on other teams and be aggressive. That naturally comes with the play style of your defense. So, like, a lot of times what people don't understand is they think, like, oh, if a team's blitzing and stuff, you don't necessarily want to run into the blitz. Actually, you do. Like, because if you pick up the blitzer and you're running the football, now that blitzing linebacker is already up in the line. So as soon as your running back gets through the line, there's nobody there for the next 10 yards. Like, I would much rather, like, have somebody who is able to hit a quick outside zone read, or if you need to throw, you pull it like an RPO, hit your tight end or something, get it out. But like your guys' defense is 100% designed to be fast and aggressive, and you guys are a bend, don't break defense. Like you guys give up
Yeah.
yards, but then when you get in the red zone, you're getting stops. You know, you're holding teams to field goals instead
Field
of
goal.
touchdowns and
Yep.
stuff. And it's like,
That's one of the most impressive things I would say about the Dallas defense this year so far. I mean, 7 games in, very few touchdowns have been allowed, even by some high-profile teams. You know.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. People like talk about stuff, and it's like, okay, yeah, y'all are just looking at a stat line, but you're clearly not like watching the game or looking at the defense because like their defense is designed to be aggressive, put pressure on teams to try to make them make mistakes. So
Yeah.
they're a lot okay with giving up yards and then turning it when they get into the red zone into field goals instead of touchdowns. Like
Yep.
you're gonna win that
Exactly.
matchup all the time if teams are constantly kicking field goals against you. And I don't know, like that stuff just irritates me, man. That's it's like a coaching thing with me and sports spectator thing with me. It's like people just
Yeah.
start saying stuff and it's like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Just stop.
Yeah, they're just talking crazy. Yeah, I know what you
Just
mean.
stop. So, but yeah, what's your matchup look like this week for your fantasy team?
I'm looking like I'm pretty. I mean, even if Tom Brady has a game like he did this past week, which I'm really hoping not. I hope he scores at least one freaking touchdown. I mean, it's looking like the chances are pretty good. Let me get that pulled up here real quick. Week 9 matchups preview.
So did they actually like bench Matt Ryan or did he get hurt?
He got hurt.
Got hurt.
I think he messed up his shoulder, I believe.
Oh crap.
Yeah, I believe he hurt his shoulder, man. But the preview, I'm going against my friend Lewis. You know, he would join us one time on the podcast. He's in a bad spot playing me because Patrick Mahomes is on a bye week. Looking at his roster, he has no quarterback, so he has to figure out who he's going to pop in there.
That's what I'm doing too. I gotta figure out who's gonna be my quarterback.
He's probably gonna start Darren Waller at tight end because he doesn't have a tight end listed right now. I mean, it's not gonna stay this way with the 63% win probability because he's gonna get a quarterback. But here are the options that he has from the free agent pool, which is why I haven't completely ditched Brady. These are the options in our league for quarterbacks right now. Best top available quarterbacks. Let me get that for y'all here. That he would have to choose from in the hopes of them putting on a decent performance. Jameis Winston, Tyler Hinkey, Zach Wilson, which may not be a bad idea for him. I might even just pick him up just so he doesn't get him and I have a backup for Brady. Zach Wilson, Sam Ellinger, Mills from Houston, which is a horrible idea. Jacoby Brissett, which might not be a bad idea. There's PJ Walker from the Carolina Panthers and Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh, which, you know, he'll get better, but he's just not at that level yet that makes it worth it. But yeah, that's the option that he has from quarterback. So most likely, I mean, unless some unforeseen things happen or a couple of guys just underperform, I should be able to win this matchup because I still have a pretty solid roster at the moment.
So who would you say for me to pick up? There's Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Mac Jones, Davis Miller, PJ Walker, Tyler Hinnick, Zach Wilson, Ryan Tannehill. He's questionable though. Sam Ellinger, Kenny Pickett, Jacoby Brissett, Justin Fields. You know what? I might. I mean, they're playing the Eagles though.
That's
Pickett.
Yeah, you could toss Pickett out the window for that one. Honestly, because I have a similar choice, I'd probably go with Wilson. I mean, yeah, they lost that kid running back, but they did pick up Robinson, who isn't too bad himself. And I mean, the odds are the Jets are going to have to pass more, which also potentially means more points for Wilson. but that's just me because Jameis Winston, I just don't feel like he's too. I feel like he's too turnover prone for me, in my opinion.
So you got Zach Wilson against New England, because I just need 1 week here because I got Patrick Mahomes. So as soon as his bye week's over with, they're going.
I'd
He's
probably
going
go
right
with
back
Zach
in.
Wilson.
So you got Zach Wilson against New England, Tyler Hennick against Indianapolis, PJ Walker, Atlanta, Davis Mills versus Tennessee, which he's projected like 23 points. Jared Goff against Miami, which Jared Goff like started off crazy hot this year.
Yeah.
He had 24, 40, 23, 51, and then he had a 10 bye week and then 5 against Dallas. He's projected 25 points. Oh, they got a lot of offensive linemen hurt. What's Ryan Tannehill been looking like? He's questionable. We'll have to watch that. So he got an ankle injury last game.
So there's two in my league. There's two teams that are 6-1, one team that is 5-2. Then there's 1, 2, 3 of us that are tied at 4-3. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that are 3-4, and then 2 teams at 2-5, and 1 at 1-6. So I'm not in a bad position. I'm only 2 games behind.
Yeah.
So there's definitely still time to salvage the season. But for my buddy who's trying to salvage the season, it's not looking too good for him because he's 3-4, and like I mentioned, he doesn't got Mahomes now, and he doesn't really have too many good options for Sunday at quarterback.
Flexor strain. What the hell's a flexor strain? You know what? I'm gonna go Sam Ellinger.
Yeah.
He's playing against the Commanders. I'm gonna go with him because he played for them last year and he did all right.
Yeah, and against the Commanders defense, I mean, he might have a really big big game.
Screw it. I'm gonna roll the dice for a week with him. Because the thing is, like this past week, I kind of struggled a little bit, but I had Cooper Kupp out. So now this week I got Zeke at 10, Damian Harris at 8, Kupp at 22, Samuel 15, Hayden Hurst 8, Pollard 13, Darrell Henderson 12, Miami defense. I'll tell you the biggest bust of my whole thing, Julio Jones, bro.
Yeah.
Guy's done nothing. So I don't even know why I still got him on my roster, but
yeah,
right.
And it's pretty crazy.
What were you gonna say? You were gonna say something. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say and it's pretty crazy because I would have thought that when we were talking about the beginning of the season, Julio Jones coming to play with Tom Brady might revitalize career, might see him put up some big numbers, kind of like he did with Antonio Brown and like he's done with other receivers, but nope, Julio Jones is like a distant memory.
Yep. Joke.
Yeah.
But that's going to wrap it up for us, folks. I am selfless_gaming. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. This podcast episode was also sponsored by HelloFresh. So if you guys would like to check out HelloFresh, we have a 19-day sponsorship. With all that being said, I will post the link to the HelloFresh promotional page down below. And when you get that link, all you got to do is click it. It'll take you straight to the page. If not, you can go to HelloFresh.com and you can put in this promo code right here. Promo code is P as in Patrick, O as in Oscar, G as in garage, H as in home, F as in football, 8235 for 65% off plus free shipping. So you can get up to 16 meals delivered straight to your door for 65% off with free shipping on your first order if you use that promo code right there. But also down in the description, you guys will have the link for the sponsorship as well. Just click on that. It takes you straight to the page. The promo code is automatically applied. Little Jacob, close us out, my man.
Yeah, guys, Little Jacob against Little with the 3 instead of an E. You can also find me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, those are socials you can reach out to me. I'll be available. Feel free to reach out about sports, gaming, whatever floats your boat. Also, of course, Mental Health Awareness Month is almost over, but of course, mental health awareness is every month and not just October. So if you see something, say something. If you know somebody, if you just need to talk to somebody, vent to somebody, I'm available. You're not alone. There's always things that people got to go through, and a lot of us all go through similar or the same things. So don't be afraid to speak out, especially if someone else needs help or if you need help yourself. We are always available here, me and Selfless are, and there's always people that are available to help out and lend out a hand or just listen if that's what you need.
Yes, sir. Well said, man. We love you guys. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will catch you in the next episode. Peace.
Later.